Okay. Today there will be a much shorter stream. Good morning. So today I'm gonna make a much shorter stream because I have stuff to do today, so I don't have time to stream the whole day. But today I'm gonna try to do some kind of not exoskeleton, but like a suit for flying, like a jetpack but not a jetpack. Okay, let's see, music. This one is going to be smaller in scope. So that I can finish it a bit faster. So I wanted to do something like something that you basically attach to your back, like a backpack or something. Since this one is so much smaller, I'm not sure. I hopefully should be able to just wrap it up in time as well, with decent quality. Would like to include some like moving parts as well, not to animate them, but you know, there's some stuff in it. Also needs to have some kind of mechanism for you know, so you can wear it, like you know, belts or whatever, some kind of harness. Actually try to build things to like the right scale most of the time as well, just in case it's something that I need to finish, you know, make a low poly for, and I want to bring it into Unreal, for example. I want to make sure that I actually use Unreal's scale, so I don't have anything that is like, you know, the worst is like if you have a complex setup, like a high poly, and then you need to rescale it to take it to Unreal, and it's and it's not as simple as just scaling from Origin. And especially when you're dealing with things like mesh ops, because you can't just take everything in a mesh op and scale it, because you can't scale all the items, because you would get double scaling, because you scale the result and the pieces. So it's a butterfly. No, today I'll only be doing this for like 4 hours or so. Just have to do other stuff. Yeah, that's true. That looks like that. But I still want to keep it in the same kind of style as the other ones, but I guess the trick is gonna be to so I think this one is gonna be a bit more flimsy, but still make it feel like it's part of the same technology base as the other ones. Morning. Yeah. Good night. Yeah. Yeah, they normally don't come out until the afternoon. Well, I wouldn't call it the prime modeling time though, because I'm yawning like crazy. Okay. Need some of that caffeine. Not gonna look like that, but yeah, it does look a bit like a skull. Yes, I have to come up with a design for these hover mechanic stuff, or like this flight engines, something that because I didn't want it to be like angel wings. I kind of want to avoid the look of it's called yeah, I didn't want it to look like insect wings, just like normal wings. I wanted it to be like, you know, obviously technological. Oh, we'll see. Oh right, sorry. Yeah, because Modo crashed, so it reset the settings. That's why it went away. The thing is, like, Modo's always been able to handle many polygons, so it's not really about that. I mean, also it's, I don't really notice performance problems that much. But Modo 11.1, like, this is the beta version that I'm streaming with, and except for a few things that are buggy, like some known bugs, it's extremely stable. Actually, it's been very stable for me. I've had a few crashes while working, but that's not strange considering the amount of commands that I shove into it. Yeah. No, it's also GPU, I mean in the viewport, but the thing is that it's not displaying polygons or anything. That is the, I mean, okay, to be honest, like, I don't know the intricacies of everything, what is rendered on the GPU and CPU. I mean, obviously the viewport GL is GPU, but it's not almost never the frame rate of rendering things that is the problem. If there anything's a problem, it's actually like calculating the things. So you can actually bring up your FPS in the viewport by writing GL meter. So for example, now it's like, I don't even know how fast my frame rate is because I can't even, it's over 500 FPS, so it's like, okay, whatever. But even like when you have like, you know, 15 million polygons, it's like I had like 200 FPS. But the trick is how you construct your modal scenes, because there are a lot of things that Modo don't like, and as long as you set your scenes up correctly, in the way that Modo likes, then you can get away with, like, then you can have, like, I never made a model complex enough for it to be a problem in Modo, like, ever. Well, it could be many things. Like, that's the thing, though. It's for example, maybe you have, for example, if you're in the textured mode, if you have something that is cubic mapped, that will kill 90% of your performance in the textured mode, because it's recalculating the cubic mapping. It's basically unwrapping your model from 3 axes every time you move a polygon. So that's, you know, one of those things that can use to kill performance. That's why I often model in shaded mode, for example. You can see easily if it's your, you know, shaders by, you can unclick the visibility here. If you have lots of things, you have displacement map, mesh smoothing, and so on. If you unclick use shader tree, you will know if it's your shaders that are causing the performance slowdown, or if it's something else. So this is really not cool design. Of course, it looks more and more like wings. I'm probably gonna end up with the wings anyway. Yeah, it's G600. What? A wild Victor appears. Oh, that's nice. Maybe I should buy a few extra ones. Just in case. Yeah, well, I didn't look that much, but so maybe there are still here as well. I only looked in like one store and I was like, oh shit, they're gone. Should buy like 10 more. Now the thing is that because once you know, because the thing with this one is that all the buttons are not useful because it's not comfortable to reach all of them. But when I first switched to this mouse, I had like pain in my hand, and I was like, oh shit, this is never gonna work. But then I stuck with it, and after like 2 days, it was like better. But it was really something you had to get used to. It's like it's like playing a guitar. To have your hand in like uncomfortable positions. Yeah, I actually have one of those, like what's it, Ubisoft, Logitech have those, what's it called? Yeah, it's like, it's basically a pad with only programmable buttons and like an analog stick and everything. So I was thinking, like, cause I bought that one, but I haven't actually used it. But I was thinking of actually changing my changing that, so instead of having my hand on my keyboard, I would use that and reprogram everything. But that would be quite a time commitment, and I have to think about it a bit more if it's actually better. Because I did the math on the buttons and stuff, and mathematically I would have more options with less hand movement. But then it would really be like playing a piano. I would use less modifier keys, like less things like Control Alt Shift, because so many of the keys would be modifier keys essentially. So it would be playing chords on like instead, which is an interesting thought. Wait, it's lying here in my random box. What is it? It's a G13, I think. Yeah. It's a pretty cool thing. So this one. So in theory that could be pretty cool, because it's very, you know, it's like ergonomic and so on. But I think it might be taking it a bit too far. I don't know. I have to think about it. It depends. Because I'm really running out of like I'm really running out of space on my keyboard. I only have like really stupid key combinations left, like, and I keep forgetting my macros. You really have to keep using them like all the time to be able to remember them, at least me. And also like you have some, he actually has tools for finding what his key bindings and stuff are for when he forgets. So he actually has some scripts for that. I haven't really been using them. I should probably do that because I've started to forget a lot. Yeah, but the thing is that the reason why I wouldn't want something like that is because then I would have to move my hand. So the whole idea with this G13 pad would be that it would essentially replace the entire keyboard. So it needs to be able to handle everything. Yeah, Magnus, that is not a bad idea. I think we talked about it in the office before. It's but something that I've been thinking of doing that like actually should be probably a much better way to set it up is to actually swap mode basically in Modo. So you basically click a button to go into like UV edit mode, and then you basically have another set of hotkeys. So you basically can keep the number of hotkeys down, but you just change what kind of setup you're currently running. Something like that. It's like several generations of massive people. So I said something about this one would not be as bulky as the other ones. That was apparently a lie, because it's pretty big. Okay, let's see. But I just started. Oh, actually, no. I think I'm onto something. I think this could be not poop with some tweaks. Well, I am massive, you're massive, Pontus is massive, Victor is massive. Might be others, but they don't count because I don't know them. Okay, maybe with a little... question is... Nah, fuck it. Weird, like now I slept properly instead, but now I'm just as tired as yesterday. This makes no sense. I really need faster ways to make pipes. So I can't talk shit about Octane while Magnus is here. No, basically I tried out Octane for Modo, and it was really cool. But the biggest reason why I'm not going with Octane is because Octane is, you know, for someone like me, or like if I would just make renders, it would be superior because it's so fast. You can just, you know, you can play with things and, you know, just make better renders faster. But I relied so much on the rounded shader, and I also bake things out quite often in Modo, so overall, like, I would lose out on a lot of the, you know, I would have to do 2 material setups and everything. And I probably should switch to Octane, just for the fact that I can make better looking renders, you know, higher quality, iterate on them more. But yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, I would have to make custom like things in Octane instead. I wouldn't be using like Modo materials, I would make Octane materials. So there's that. But it depends, you know, if I should probably, it's just one of those things that I should learn anyway, because not just like, even if I wouldn't use it all the time, I would still really benefit like from knowing it, especially when I do things like design jobs, because I can actually, you know, render things out real quick. Even if I have my shitty render computer that can render things for me, you know. It's not reliable enough. Yeah, exactly. They have a rounded edge shader, but it sucks. So this is a little bit annoying. This is killing my original idea a bit. Neighbors are cooking. Doesn't smell burnt yet, at least. I'm not actually sure which features I can talk about. But of the features that are out in Modo 11 now, it's like, I would say the increased stability in mesh ops. It's because before, you know, I couldn't use mesh ops with my normal workflow because a lot of it was just a lot of my normal way of working just didn't work. You know, it copy pasting geo that you're gonna subtract and stuff made it crash, and you know, there are all these kind of things, but a lot of those are fixed now, so that's a big one for me. They also have a lot of new like things for like UV mapping and so on. Just like some quality of life fixes that are quite nice. Whatever, I'll just leave it like this. Yeah, well, yeah, the metal is like at least the physically based one makes it easy to set up because you just need to put the specular amount to 100% because then you don't have any diffuse at all, no matter what you have the diffuse set to. I mean, it looks quite alright, but then it's also because depends what you set your specular color to, because you need to turn both down like this. That's quite alright. I think it's pretty hilarious when people say that, or like ask me how I make my renders, because like it's not very hard. Just press button, make render. I don't really use anything special in my default renders. I don't even use the light source. I actually have like, I only use like an HDRI from that ships with Modo, that has shipped with Modo since like Modo, I don't even know, Modo 5. Meow. Where's the cat? And then I just turn off the default light, and I only use the HDRI. The reason why I'm doing that is because I've been using floaters so much, and you don't get any direct shadows on the floaters, so you can't tell they're floaters as easily. I mean, you can get around that anyway, but then I would have to do a custom thing, like a custom material, and I'm lazy. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because people are so like amazed over procedural stuff at the moment. People are like, oh my god, it's like you can do all this cool shit and you can bake it out, and you know, you have substance and do things procedurally, and it's like, yeah, well, that's what people used to do all the time before, so like when I was making things in Lightwave, it was only procedural shaders and everything. It's like, cause you didn't want to unwrap anything because unwrap tools were a nightmare. Why are you? I have a cat in my gym bag. So in regards to design now, it's, you know, a bit all over the place, but I'm gonna try to just get some kind of representation of all the elements I want to be there in the final design, because there's things, you know, that needs to be there from, like, you know, a design point of view, like the harness attached thing, what I'm working on now, and that needs to function in certain ways. So I'm just gonna build everything, and then once I have everything there, and then I'll start moving pieces around. So it's no point, or like, I don't know, maybe this is not a good way to do it, but there's no point for me to make anything even like half decent polished without adding in all the elements, because then they will just come in later and destroy everything. What you doing? No, not the shoes. Baking. Magnus, could you bake in Lightwave? Like at all? I don't remember. I remember I used like some custom plugin that could bake normal maps, but it could only bake them on like one axis or something. It was super horrible. Today it's like some kind of like flight gear that you wear on your back. Yeah, but it's like there's a dude here. There's my there's a guy. Ooh, flying! Yeah, I tried to. That was when I was in school, and normal maps started to become a thing, but there were no programs to bake normal maps in. You only had this NVIDIA program to bake normal maps. That was really shitty and never worked for me. It only crashed. I never got it to bake anything. But then you also had the first versions of XNormal, but you could only bake continuous meshes in that one. So I just like gave up on it. I think I used. It's like the newest version of Maya could bake normal maps, but they didn't have that at university, so I had to take my models home as well to Maya, to use the Maya at home. And then also you couldn't display the normal maps in the Maya version at school, because it was like a couple of Maya versions before they added that in the viewport, so you couldn't even see them. Or like you could see them, it was just that they were completely wrong. Yeah, and then we used bump maps in World in Conflict anyway. Imagine how many verts we would have saved if we would have had proper normal maps instead of everything being like hard angles. So many verts. Well, to be fair, it was also like on Far Cry 3, we tried to explain to the engine programmers why it should look like the bake and not wrong. The whole concept of synced normals just went over their head. Such a pain in the ass. Make all those guns and then they just looked wrong. Yeah, but it's like the bug in Unreal 3 that since you took the tangent from the first UV map and then or like the light mass speculars were taken from the first UV map and not the second. So if you made like a mirrored model in Unreal, you had a seam in the light mass specular across the seam, and it was like completely fucked. And so many games had that, and it's so funny because it's super easy to fix. All you had to do was to put your light map UVs in the first UV set and your normal UVs in the second UV set, and then you change that in the shader, and then it looks perfectly fine. But most people did not do that. They just had shitty broken normals and everything instead. Well, I think. Wait, let's see, where are they? I think the best example of like, yeah, you could do really cool shit back in the day. I think. Let's see, where are they? Seneca's. Like, I mean, this was made in Lightwave back when no one had like normal maps, and it's like, oh look, perfectly synced baked normal maps from like really annoyingly complex sub-D models in Lightwave. Made like when? 2001? Those models are like more than 15 years old, so yeah. I have no idea. I mean, to be honest, it's like, it's not that easy to make extra money on it unless you're good enough to be a professional, and if you're good enough to be a professional, it's, you know, you should probably be a professional. Especially on the game art side of things, because the industry is moving forward quite rapidly all the time. Tools are evolving, like there's new software all the time, new techniques. Like if you were, you know, awesome 5 years ago, that's not awesome anymore. It's still good, but you know, how quick you do things and so on, all that stuff changes all the time. Well, I mean, now we're actually moving backwards in that regards. Like, people put less detail into their sculpts and do more surface detailing in stuff like substance, just because it's so destructive to sculpt. It takes so long time. It's just not as powerful. I don't like this. It is not cool. I'm gonna put this in like a junk layer. Well, one of the big things now is that people have finally started to embrace, you know, procedural things in general. You know, we have Houdini, we have procedural generation of things like landscapes in games. Look at Horizon, Ghost Recon. You have procedural textures with Substance. People are actually accepting that, you know, algorithms can make art too. You know, it's that it's always like that. People have a resistance to change when, especially when it comes to, like, you know, same thing with scanning. People are like, but I like to sculpt rocks, and it's like, yeah, but you know, tools are gonna evolve. We're gonna end up not sculpting rocks anymore. You know, it's and obviously there will be things like, you know, machine learning and so on. A few years time, probably we will not have to make low polys for most things, because most of it can be automated. We're already, like, relatively close to being to... We can already do a lot of it, automation. It's just gonna be more and more. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the procedural stuff is just a set of rules, and the more complex set of rules you can have, you know, more complex the simulation. Oh yeah, donuts. Yeah, procedural. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what's his name? Andrew Maximov at Naughty Dog. He had like a talk about that future of game art. I mean, in the end, it's gonna be, you know, photorealistic games are gonna be the cheap indie ones, because, you know, that's just real stuff. We got that covered. It's the things you actually have to, you know, design, make from scratch. That's what's expensive. It's like with movies. Like, if you're gonna make a movie like Valerian, for example, where like everything pretty much is made up and designed, that's gonna be a lot more expensive than just filming like you know, some family comedy set in New York, because you can just go there and film it. I think you can already do that in Maya. I'm not sure of the exact functionality of their shader, because, you know, they're always a bit different in implementation. But I know you can do that in Maya as well. the thing is, like with the round edge shader, the only thing that brings it down is that, first of all, if you're working in a team and you need to transfer it across people and they don't have Modo, that's a pain. Also, it produces some artifacts, especially in some cases, and those you can't really work around the same way you can work around something in modeling because you're locked to what the shader can do. Other than that, it's perfectly valid. I already used it on like 6 games or something, I don't know. Yeah, same thing there, like a fantasy game is gonna require a lot less work than a sci-fi game probably. Because, or like, depending on the setting of course, but quite likely. At least if you're looking at, you know, kind of generic fantasy. Tomorrow I'm gonna take a break, but then I'm gonna do one more on Tuesday, and to be honest, it depends on how I feel on Tuesday. So the plan was to do at least 5 of these, but I'll have to see if I actually do more. It depends. I mean, it's a great way to be productive, but it's not a great way to have a life, because it takes, you know, if I was only streaming, that would be, I mean, tough but fine, but then you know, making renders and answering people's questions and, you know, putting stuff on YouTube, all that shit takes time. So we'll see. And I wouldn't know about the rounded shader and 3D Studio Max. That's a bit boring. Let's make it sci-fi, aka 45 degrees. Oh, actually, that's cool. I could do a little pillow. So I use Modo and I use Photoshop. Sometimes I use Quixel Suit, and I should really learn Substance because that's the coolest kid on the block. So basically, like, all these renders that I post are actually extremely simplistic. there's like maximum like 5 inputs on those. It's like it's not a lot of work or effort in those actually. I think my tutorial on my sci-fi transport still, both that one and the one for Gnomon I did with the gun is like more complex than what I'm doing on these renders. I mean, it all depends on what your goals are. For me, it's like I'm a production artist, or I have always been. Like all this concept stuff is relatively new to me if you like compared to the rest of my career. But it's also, you know, it's practice, and the faster I am, the more I can practice at design. Because 3D modeling is not the best one. Like, it's not the best way to design things, or like it's not the best way to learn design. Because to learn design, I mean, you have to design a lot of things. You have to, you know. But to practice, you have to study, and the more, yeah, well, basically, the more you study, the better. And if you're stuck doing technicalities and modeling, you're not gonna get a lot of things done. And to be fair, like, modeling is like, it's not, I don't find it like a rewarding task to be modeling. It's like, it's not like I model because it's fun in that way. What is fun for me is to see the end result, the creation, to see it take shape. But that has nothing to do with actual modeling. It's just like, it's a mean towards an end. And that's why, like, if I could do this in 1 second, that would be awesome. I could just imagine things and they would just pop up. I'm like 50-50 between concept art and production art, I would say. It's funny because it's actually more or less divided. A lot of it is divided between who has known me for a long time and who hasn't. Because people who have known me for a longer time, you know, don't seem to accept as much that I am now actually designing things. They're just used to me building people's assets for them. It's kind of funny. Smoothing groups. Well, no, there's no smoothing groups on anything. And there's no turbo smooth in Modo either. I mean, it's subdivision, like this. I use weighting on the subdivision though. Magnus does not accept that I have grown up. You're still a child to me. Oh, this is interesting. The playlist is just playing, so I didn't... This is not for my playlist. What is this music? I would say that completely depends on the studio, if you have a concept or not. I worked on games where I got like maximum... Or actually I worked on AAA games where I didn't get a single concept. And then I worked on games where you're not allowed to do anything with without like the permission of like 10 people and like 5 producers. So yeah, it really depends. It can be both good and bad. Sometimes you have amazing concept art and then you're just like, I need to build this model, give it to me. And then sometimes you're like, they're like, hey, you're gonna build this thing, and I'm like, I have no idea what you want me to build. Or like, I don't understand the style. Like, what is our style even? Can I get some help, please? I'm confused. So it depends. It's fun to design things, but it's also fun to know that you're on the right track and that you're in sync with the rest of the team, which, you know, sometimes you don't know that without a concept. And sometimes you get so amazing concepts that you're like, you just have to build it. It was like the prototype mech for Wolfenstein. It's like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna build this. This is mine. I didn't have time to build it, so I built it in my spare time. Yeah, this is like subdivision, most of the surfaces. Yeah, I think, not to be mean, but I think that pure, the 3D modelers as we have them today will disappear and be replaced by the concept artists. Because we need more and more tech art. And basically what 3D modelers are doing today is just translating concept art, basically. And if the concept artists can do that themselves, we have no need for the 3D artists. So 3D artists are going away. So you would have people that help with the technical aspects, but will not have dedicated teams of modelers to translate the concept artist visions into 3D. I don't think so, no. It's really... This is not right. Yeah, it's being a generalist is almost always a safer bet for the long term. It's harder in many ways, but it's definitely a safer bet from a job security standpoint. Hello. I don't know. Some lower bits. Okay. Well, I like doing 3D. Wasn't super good at it, and I like modding games. Then when I was gonna apply to university, I applied for some random things I didn't really want to study, and then I found out you can actually study games, or like game art. So then I did not accept any other it's called educations, and just waited 1 year and applied to do that instead. And then the school was useless, and I taught myself. And then I got a job halfway through the education, and I've been working with it since then. Back then the 3D schools were like really shit. Like, they couldn't teach you things because they didn't know themselves. So I learned from the internet. But thank God I didn't become a rocket scientist. Well, it's not like you need smoothing groups. Okay. Now we have a big old chunky mess. Well, no. That's not true. You need to harden your normals occasionally, perhaps, but you don't need to do that using smoothing groups. Smoothing groups is just one of the tools to do that. Meow meow. Why would I don't know. So people sometimes say that, you know, jobs in the games industry are not stable. That really depends on where you are. Wait, I have to let the cat in. Yeah. Yeah, we work out occasionally. We go to the gym at the same time. Same gym. I've been working out for like a lot longer than him though. I'm just not so into it these days. It's, I'm busy with 3D. I'm getting old, my body is like half ruined and I'm married. You can't show any texture blending in real time in Modo now. I have a hard time thinking he would take offense from that. Yeah, I mean, I use I don't use smoothing. I use smoothing groups, but not that much. And I use this Star Citizen-ish workflow, or like Star Citizen. But yeah, not first game to use that kind of method, but similar workflows where you use the vertex normals and work with those. And I use smoothing groups a bit, but actually just harden the normal edges a lot more because it's have more control that way. Have to select less polygons. Yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on what you mean with that method, because I use like custom normals on everything. Every single object I make have custom normals. And it's the same thing in like Wolfenstein Old Blood. Everything had custom normals, pretty much. Okay, now my cat wants to play, so now he's gonna meow a lot. Well, the thing is, like, its uses are not just for doing that. It's no matter what you're doing, it's quite useful because you can minimize normal compression as well. And minimizing normal compression also means that then you can have less support edges to get perfect norm maps with less distortion. So, okay, wait, I'm gonna mute the mic and chase my cat a bit. Jesus. Yeah. He's not gonna calm down. Okay, now he's... Okay, let's see what we can do here. Okay, let's see if I can grab some stuff from the other ones. Maybe. I don't like this one. Oh, it's really fucking smelly for my neighbors. They make really smelly food and then they open up their windows and their balcony, so it just goes into my apartment, so now it smells like shit. I need some way to like, I don't know, punish them. No, Tesla. Well, they cook with a lot of spices and they are shit at cooking, so they quite often burn their food so it smells like everywhere, but I don't know what they're cooking. Go grab some stuff from yesterday's robot. Because why not? Since I don't have as much time today, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more efficient. Start with these. Jesus, it's so fucking smelly now. I have to go close the balcony door. I am doing freelance work nowadays. I used to be studio based. Now I'm freelancing. This is some kind of suit for flying. Hover suit. I don't know if you can hear him on the stream. It's good if you can't. Meow. Okay, so I need to work on this because now everything is just kind of merged together into blobs, and that's not, you know, the point of this. It's supposed to be a little bit more elegant than that. So let's see if we can start tackling that now. or there are like two main things I really need to do, and it's like first just clean this design up because it's a mess, and also to just make the pieces sit nicely together. No, I'm just a 3D artist. Yeah, that's good. So I'm happy. Turn on the oven. This one is tricky. Still a bit of a mess. In the wrong way. I do like when it's a mess, but it has to be the right kind. Bye-bye, thanks for stopping by. That's a bit better, I think. Okay. Um, 90% professional. That's why I also this is one of the reasons why I made this little project with the robots and stuff, because I haven't made any proper personal art in quite a long time actually. I only made like these really short live stream things, so only like 1 hour projects, and that's, you don't get a lot done in an hour. you know, not compared to what you are doing professionally. So yeah, it's mostly professional work. So that's why I wanted to take the time and do this. Yeah, I have a kit. I started building a kit bash library for this project. It's just that I have not been using it for this model yet. If you look at the other videos and models, I use them. But it depends a bit, because in this one it's not so much about this kit bashing and the detail level of the model, because with this one it's a bit smaller model, and I want to figure the design out as well, so kit bashing won't really help me with that, because they would just get in the way, because they would be like too complex models to edit as fast as these. But the other ones have had like varying amounts of kit bashing. Yeah, I have done some several projects in Unreal 4, so I do a little bit of everything. I do I don't just do concept art and production work. I also do, you know, environment art and sometimes technical art as well. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything, pretty much. If it's a cool challenge and something I think it's fun, then I'm you know, happy to do it. It's just that, you know, doing things like environment art in a production, it's hard to do that as a freelancer, because, you know, it's so many, you know, unknowns and things you have to take into account, like, you know, the gameplay, what are the metrics for the gameplay, like, what's your pipeline like, you know, are you sharing your texture library, like, do you have master shaders, how's everything set up, you know, it's like, environment art workflows can be so really radically different, so it's a bit trickier to do environment art as, you know, as in, you know, full-on environments as a freelancer. That's why it's, you know, mostly assets and stuff. It's easier to just outsource like a high poly mech, because it's just a high poly. Just take these. Oh, first I'm gonna paste them. Do this. Scale them down. Then should I put these in this layer? Oh, no, it should be in the base layer. Instant funky insets. So I used voxel or 3D code quite a bit some years ago, like working on Wolfenstein and so on. That was for rocks and so on. But I haven't actually tried it for like hard surface design stuff. But I've seen people use it and it looks really cool. My main concern is that, you know, with this it's much easier to go from high poly to low poly and so on. It's so even though I think like building a kit patch library and then using that in 3D code is probably, you know, very, very, you know, satisfying. Still, I think this is, if I take the entire pipeline into account, I think this workflow I have now is better. Especially now that I started using, you know, some procedural, or like non-destructive workflows as well. So it's actually not destructive. So that helps. Come on, I need the pollution. Gotta chill a bit. But it's really cool if you're only doing design and not have to make like a low poly and so on. Then it's really cool, and it's definitely something I would work more with. And also, I mean, it depends on how picky you are with the end result as well. Because if you are working on something that is not super high res, for example, and you're okay with the slight, you know, blobbiness you might get from 3D code if you're not using like high enough resolution and so on. Then it's, you know, it's definitely a really cool workflow. Well, more or less with my mind. What I do is that I look at models of, or not models, but machines. For example, a lot of these mechanical shapes, I love looking at things like rocket engines, for example, and rocket engines, engines in general, construction machines. And I see cool shapes and extrusions, and I don't build the pieces straight from that, but I take inspiration from the way the shapes are, and then also try to build them in a way that they have, you know, a clear use. For example, it's hard, or at least for me, it's hard to know how useful a kit bash set is gonna be until you've used it a bit. But there are certain things, you know, that, you know, you're gonna have certain kinds of shapes and holes that you want to fill with kit bash pieces, and so I almost always start with making these kind of shapes that I know will be useful later. At least a few of them. For example, this one has been proven to be pretty useful. So it fits these kind of shapes. I'm using edge weighting. No. All right. Good that I saved less than a minute ago. I'm using a very non-ergonomic mouse, actually. G600 20 button mouse. Well, it's a bit hard for me to say, you know, it's I've been working on it for a long time. I mean, it's also because, well, that's a really hard question actually. I don't know. I just it's a style that I like. I really like this. You know, well, I do like clean sci-fi as well, but I always liked, you know, things that are a bit dirty and worn and so on. In general, I don't like this pristine look as much as I like rusty and worn. But this is also a look that is extremely hard to pull off. I think it's almost no games use this kind of, you know, style. I mean, sure, people make dirty and rusty stuff, but very few, you know, sci-fi IPs actually have this style. Kind of like, you know, the original Star Wars movies. Almost nothing has this kit bash style anymore, and so it's very hard to pull off in CG because it actually requires you to. The models take longer to make, and you know, it's very time consuming, and so there's not so much of it, so I also feel like it's not so overdone. I take a lot of inspiration from like real world machinery, things like Machine and Krieger, and like kit bashing miniatures, kit bash miniatures and stuff. It's something I really enjoy looking at, because they have this miniature kit bash stuff is everything is a bit chunky there, because, you know, you can't make everything realistically scaled, like the detailing and so on. So everything is a bit chunkier than normal. And that reads really well, I think, and it works really well for games as well, because, you know, you kind of see them from a distance, so everything has, you know, this kind of like, you know, smoother edges. They catch the light real nice, and it's like, you know, it's not realistic, but it kind of reads as realistic. Yeah, I personally would not. I mean, I couldn't see myself using someone else's kit bash kit, like for my personal art, because I want to put my own stamp on it, and because I want to, you know, do the whole process myself and figure things out. Oh man, it's already 2.5 hours. Time flies. Yeah, so this model is gonna end up a lot more simple than the other ones. That's for sure. Just gonna put my lunch on warming. Put this render on. I mean, you don't need this crazy mouse with lots of buttons. That's, you know, something I got very late, but it's just one of those things. The more you the more stuff you learn, the harder it is to find like big improvements. see. Figure out. Okay, this one also needs to be fixed. Might not be able to finish this one as or be as close to finishing this one as I would have liked to, because I have to can only spend about 4 hours today on it, and it's like more than halfway, and I still haven't blocked out everything out the way they are supposed to be. So let's see how this goes. Well, I'm the one who decides when it's finished. It's just not gonna be as complex. This one is also another case for the booleans. Okay, now we're not in playlist land anymore. Okay, so let's just do this. Okay, just gonna let this render a little bit. Like these, like the mesh shops and so on, are much more useful when you're doing larger scale things and need to do like very large cutouts and stuff. These ones I'm still not happy with, but I will still do some experiments on them. Okay, let's see if we can. The good thing is that I can mix sub-D and normal cutout geo like this, because the rounded shader will handle things for me anyway. So I don't have to bother with the intersections. And like, we're doing correct sub-D geo for this one. sure why it's doing that. Strange. Check what's actually happening here. This happened yesterday as well, but then it just went away again. Oh, that was annoying. Strange. Just didn't really like this geo I used before for some reason. So it doesn't make much difference to the looks now, but in the render it makes it properly separated. No, I'm using the full version, otherwise I couldn't use all my scripts. Yeah, I mean it is the indie version after all. It has, you know, some limitations. Otherwise, its existence wouldn't make much sense. Add some quick material work. good thing with using when I'm using tags instead of new materials is that it's easier to make them inherit things. So, for example, these polygons will still have the same other properties, except they will have a different color, because I was only overriding the color. You could do that with instances as well, but I like this way better. Do this one. Not exactly super happy about it. Okay. If you're wondering why I'm so slow, it's because I'm also eating pizza at the same time. That's why I'm... not exactly speed modeling right now. Yeah, I wish there was a real-time solution for it, but not yet at least. Okay, it's about 1 hour left. Yeah, I mean, definitely miss things from from being in house. I mean, you miss working with a team that way. And you miss working on a game, you know, because, you know, working as a freelancer, you're mostly working on the art. Working in a studio, you're working on a game. It's a bit different. And, you know, taking coffee breaks with people, talking shit in the office. It's always nice. And of course, when you're working in an office, you can, you know, take breaks, and it kind of counts as working. When you're a freelancer, you can't really do that. On the other hand, when you're a freelancer and you do something really quick and well, you get paid for it, so that's the upside. I don't really use Mesh Fusion now. Basically, I do want to use it now, because now they've improved it a lot, so now most of the things that stopped me from using it are gone. Now I just need a way to integrate it into my workflow seamlessly. Same way that I've been, you know, I couldn't just adopt the mesh ops and the live booleans. I had to, you know, make it work with my workflow, because it's very different, so I can't just start using them like that. So I was actually exploring them a little bit, posted a bit about it on my Facebook. Trying some new things with it, combining it with the mesh ops basically, which was just pretty successful. But I still want to, you know, I need to make hotkeys and presets and understand it a bit better before I can really, you know, adopt it. I was thinking about doing it using Mesh Fusion for the robot I did yesterday with the balls, because that's basically like a perfect case for Mesh Fusion. But instead, I just did it like regular old school sub-D modeling, because I wasn't sure if I could work around some of the parts there. It was I knew there was going to be like intersections and stuff probably in Mesh Fusion, so I didn't want to take the risk of setting it up and then wait, what? Oh, okay. Setting it up and then you know, redoing it again, so just went for a safe way. Yeah, I was eating pizza. I was saving you from my pizza eating. I'm so short on time today, so I'm not gonna have time to, you know, take proper breaks if I'm gonna be done. To maximize the time usage. I don't really know. I don't really know how much Maya crashes. I'm just gonna make some quick notes for myself. This is how I do my concept art. Yeah, actually the videos of the selection tools was the first thing that got me interested in Modo. This was back when like I was working in Lightwave and Maya were 5, 6, 7, I don't know, something. And they showed the selection tools and I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. You can paint selection and, you know, make loops. And then I was like, oh my god, I need this. That's pretty much how I got started with it. More like it. Let's see what my notes were. Actually, I can probably do this with floaters best. Floaters and rounded shader. Must be comfy. Almost there. I'm just gonna try to get everything I wanted in, like so it's not abandoned before the stream is over. So it's probably not gonna end up as polished as I would like, but Okay. Done. I just have to turn on the rounded shader. See how that works. More. Yeah. Works fine. This whole piece is a bit stupid. See if I can fix that. How should I do this? I can't say I'm very happy with today's progress. It's been very slow. So too many things to figure out that you can't always have a good flow. Today was more sitting and fiddling with the design than speed modeling. Okay, let's see if we can make some last minute detailing. I don't want to use too many of the other kind of rivets on this one because they kind of imply that it's heavier, more industrial looking machine. No, these are just regular floaters, so these are nothing custom or special at all. It's just floating geo. You can use there's like a Seneca tool that I use for that. There's also a tool in Modo called Tac tool, which works in a similar way. Okay, I'm gonna grab some more things from the robot. See what we can do. Some last minute detailing. Hello. Yeah, that's the challenge I'm currently doing. I didn't decide yet. I made it for, this is the 4th day, but I'm gonna cut this one really short. I'm gonna be done soon. And then I'm gonna do at least one more. Not tomorrow, because I'm gonna have a break tomorrow. And then I might make more. It depends on how I feel, to be honest. If I have any inspiration and if I feel like that gives me anything. Yes. Nationaldags Mech. It'll be a moose mech. I was gonna make a joke, and then I realized like they actually have a. Isn't the mech in Chappie called Moose? Okay. Well, this time it's because I'm doing it a much shorter one, so. Stay clean. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up now in just a couple of minutes. Feels like I'm pretty done with this one, at least mentally. Maybe I should clean this up. Can shove some extra presets in there for fun. Okay, let's see, maybe this one. Maybe this one. Here, okay. Last few presets to artificially bump up the complexity of this model. So I can feel a bit more productive. Okay. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with this on Tuesday, I think. See if I post any renders of this today, if I have time. Otherwise, I have to make do. New imagination for now. Thanks for watching.